Hi everyone, Jimmy here and welcome to the Coerver Coaching Podcast. This pod is designed for grassroots coaches who are serious about developing their skills and making a positive impact on their players. Our cause on our podcast is to provide you, the grassroots coaches, with advice that can really help you improve your players' creativity, skills and confidence. Each week we'll bring you a special guest who'll share their unique experience and insight from the world of football. From practical coaching tips to inspiring stories, our conversations will be tailored to our guest strengths, ensuring you gain valuable knowledge you can apply directly to your coaching, your players and your team. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Coerver Coaching Podcast. I'm here with Ben and Mike. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ben and Mike are the successful podcast hosts of, and you've got to check it out for all of our audience, the podcast, It's Only Kids Football. So guys, thanks very much for being with us today. First thing I want to get into, basically we've got two sort of parts of the conversation today. You guys are both dads, volunteer dads at the U8
I'm not a volunteer dad, I'm an actual dad.
Sorry, well I don't know about that, Ben. But you are a volunteer coach dad, right, for your under-8 children, both boys, right?
Yes.
Both boys.
Yes, both boys, at a good club in Essex. And Ben, you've started this podcast with Mike about your experience and the difficulties of first-time coaching. So I want to get into a little bit about your experience and also, importantly, what the tips you can give other grassroots coaches, because there's a lot of people in the same boat. I mean, and you guys will see that every weekend. And the other bit is dipping again into your podcast. You've spoken to some brilliant ex-pros and professionals, current pros as well, whether they're coaches or players, and just give our audience a bit of an insight to their tips that have helped you guys along your coaching journey as well. So Mike and Ben, let me kick things off. Tell me the things that you've done particularly well this season.
That's a difficult question to answer. I would say the best thing that we've done is develop as coaches. I'm not saying, we're by no means perfect and we're really good coaches. We're not. But what we've done is we've taken the time to reflect on what we're not good at. Okay. And we've really tried hard to get better. And I wouldn't necessarily say that is around coaching a session. It's more managing our emotions and how we can help the children feel confident, be fearless, have fun, but also get better. What the main learnings are definitely focused around that, because the sessions, essentially you've got an hour a week, which really is 45 minutes because of all the messing about. Yeah. So a session doesn't change too much because you haven't got a huge amount of time. And all the stuff I've learned from all the coaches that we spoke to is like, you don't want to make it too complicated. You want to keep it simple, fun, keep the ball moving, loads of touches of the ball, all that stuff. So really sessions don't change that much. What does change is my emotion.
Knowing you a bit, Ben, that's quite a scary proposition. Mike, how do you manage that? And were you able to, because you guys didn't know each other before coaching, was that difficult for you to sort of work with Ben on that? Or have you both grown in that way?
Even though we look very different, I think mentally we're exactly the same. So it was actually quite good having another lunatic on the sidelines with me. So it wasn't just myself. Yeah. But I think, going back to what Ben said, the key thing has been progress over perfection. Uh-huh. And when we look back to when we started, which we do a lot of self-reflection, it's pretty shocking the way we were. And we're not perfect now by any means, but we're a lot better. And that managing of our emotions has been a massive learning curve. And then managing the kids' emotions as well is just going to change all the time, right? But we can start to see how they behave, why they're behaving, and then we start to try and, have that woosah moment where you're just saying, okay, he's going to mess about today. I know it's going to happen. We've got to deal with it. And that's progress over perfection.
How often do you guys communicate with one another?
I mean, I've literally spoken to him more than anyone. I mean, and if he doesn't message me, I'm wondering why he hasn't messaged me.
You get FOMO if he's out with his mates.
I'm really angry that this weekend he's missing something to go away with. His friend, Jack, who I try to like, but I just like him because he's friends with Mike. But we constantly... rarely a day goes by without a message of some sort a lot of it obviously to do with the football, but we see each other. We were talking about this the other night. As our lives are so intertwined by football because we do the Saturday, we do the Sunday. That's the team. But Friday we see each other because they do Ballers Elite. I've spoken to you about Ballers Elite. That is from two lads who were Coerver kids. Who've gone on to. You've spoken to the guys at Ballers Elite. We really, we buy into that. So we see each other then, and then all week we're both Arsenal fans. So we are just. Yeah, we've just...
And then the podcast.
Yeah, and then the podcast as well, obviously, which completely forgot about. That's what I'm on here to promote. We're recording once a week, but we're discussing ideas. There's the social media teasers. Our lives are just completely intertwined, which is driven by the football.
Are you surprised with that sort of level of commitment and not only friendship, but the amount of thought time? I mean, I said to you, Ben, when we did a pod, when I was on your guys' podcast, sometimes I wake up at the middle of the night and think about, should Johnny play left back or is he better further up the pitch? Were you surprised by how much it might, if I throw that to you, how much it sort of dominated your time and your thinking
100%.
time?
I was the, I don't know if you'd call it the brave person, but it's most of the dads or the mums on the sideline. When that team is created and you need to step forward, I was the one that, like the majority of us, like I would love to do it, but I don't want to be the coach. I don't want to be the main man. And when he stepped forward, I thought, I'll do it with him, but it won't be too much of an effort because I'm now not the main guy. But it's just all encompassing. You just become fully obsessed with it. It is. I said this the other day, didn't I? That we're big Arsenal fans, and you feel like you are part of that club. It is your club. If we lose, you feel bad. If we win, you feel amazing. And it is like that with grassroots football. The only difference is your kids might be in it, so you're even more invested. And for us, we're coaching that team, so we're even more invested. So you become fully, uncontrollably obsessed with this thing. So you do wake up in the night thinking, maybe we try that kid in that position, or maybe we'll try this out. It just, it consumes your mind. And now with the podcast and the fact that we see each other all the time and training and everything, we don't have room for anyone else in our lives, do we?
He posted, we had I think it was the presentation night, and then I met him the next day and went for lunch with him and his actual wife, and then he posted a picture like when your two wives get on, and it was a picture of me and Estelle.
Sorry, but I was just going to say the proof in how obsessed we are is, so my wife the other day, she with her friend and me and my other friend Jack, who Ben doesn't like because it's not Ben. They sat us down after a few drinks and was like, surprise for your birthday, we're going away on the weekend to somewhere amazing. I said, my first thought that I said out loud, blurted out loud, was, what about training? And we're playing Lee Ramblers Greens. That's a derby. Hopefully I'll be back on Sunday. It didn't go down well.
I've been doing the same. We've got a work trip to America in March, and I've just been on the phone before we got here trying to arrange the flights around around training and matches, because I wanted to. I didn't want to miss anything, basically.
You didn't want to extend your trip to America to take in a bit of the city that you're going to. You'd rather be at home.
Yes.
Away day and wherever.
Yeah. So the other people, they're like having the extended days, and I'm like, are you joking? We've got a match, mate. I've got training to plan. I don't need to see New York. I've seen it all. City, street, pavement, cars. Seen it all before, mate. Not interested.
Oh my God. Well, I think it speaks to a broader point about like this conversation, I'm sure, and it kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning, will resonate with so many volunteer, particularly dads at the moment. At Coerver, we're trying to do a whole process about how to recruit mums, because I don't know if you think this, but I think that's a real opportunity, because mums are obviously there supporting their kids every weekend. And I think that it's always dads, basically, that I see in the English sort of our leagues around us. So I think we're thinking about ways and trying to incentivize mums to come join us on the sidelines. And I think you've seen that a little bit more in girls football, because I coach also my daughter's team and another side in the girls JPL. But still, it's mostly males coaching. Even in that sort of JPL female league, it's mostly men coaching. Maybe it's a case of there's a bit of a lag between, the amount of players playing in this country and then finishing and then getting to coaching. That could be a part of it. But still, I think there's an opportunity for us to help mums feel more comfortable coaching or taking match day or whatever it is.
That would 100% be my take on it, is that it's a generational thing. So you need to have played to have the confidence to be involved in some sort of way. And now, like, certainly round where we live, if I went for a run on a Saturday morning, there's a Belfast Park, and it's all girls football. And then there's on Len Forge where we play and train every night of the week. There's different training sessions. I go over there. There's loads of girls teams, specific goalkeeper coaches working with girls. But you need that generation of football fans and players to get to a certain age to want to be involved. Yeah. We do involve, we ask questions in our WhatsApp group to the mums, and they offer their advice. You can definitely still feel that hesitancy because, the reality is they probably don't want to be judged by the men in the group. Do they think, is the advice that I'm offering going to be taken seriously? Do I sound silly? Do I have the knowledge base? And I can understand why it's intimidating as well. Taking a training session, all the parents are watching. Yeah. They are definitely worried. And I'm speaking on behalf of women here, but I would assume that it's because you're worried about being judged and something going wrong. Because the kids wouldn't care. The kids are not going to care whether it's their mum or dad, whatever. They someone's putting on a session. Yeah. It's the parents. We feel that. When we had a chat the first time, I said to you, one of the mistakes I made at the beginning was I wanted to coach for the parents rather than the kids. I wanted the parents to come away and go, "Did you see that session you put on today? That was brilliant." And I'd almost be influenced by things they said. So they'd make a comment to me and then I'd want to build a session around it. So they think that I'm, know what I'm doing and I'm trying to endear myself to them. That's a mistake. You should listen to parents. Obviously, it doesn't mean your opinion isn't the only one that matters, but you should stick to what you believe in. And otherwise, then my sessions would get messy. I'd have too many drills. I'd be trying to overcomplicate it. The kids would be sitting there like, I don't understand this. Then I'm getting frustrated with them. Really, to keep it simple at that age, I think is a key learning.
I think at your age group, guys, like that under 8, maybe under 10 level, it's okay to repeat drills week on week. Kids become more familiar with logistics and what you're trying to do. And that it speaks to a bit what you said, Ben, like some parents might think, oh, I saw that last week. But for the kids' experience and their learning, it's probably beneficial. And the other thing is to kind of try and keep things simple. So don't overload them with multiple different drills. Establish drills that are easy logistically to set up that you can quickly flick from one to another. And I think that these are sort of some of the things we try and work with grassroots coaches is the flow of it. Don't try and pack too much into it, but enable a flow where you're going from one thing to another kind of seamlessly. Attention coaches and players, introducing the new and improved Coerver Soccer app. It's called Coerver Soccer Skills, and we're very proud to be able to help you become a better player and coach, and fast. With expert-led drills, skills challenges and real-time progress, coaches will develop better practices that challenge and improve all of your players, regardless of their ability. Guess what? It's also easy to use and time-tested, and the improved content that we've learned from over these 40 years can be prescribed for you so you can see your session plans, or you can create your own using the Coerver Session Planner. You'll save time and there'll be no more research needed for YouTube. You get 40 years of tried and tested know-how in the palm of your hand. Enjoy the app now, coaches. So, guys, you talked a little bit about one of the things you've done well. Mike, give us another one that you think you guys have done well this season.
I think you touched on it there when we talked about the parents and the WhatsApp group. I think we, on the whole, have managed the parents really well. Yeah. If you could class it as that, we're very close with them. Either we've just got very lucky, which I do genuinely think we have. Our group of parents have been amazing, and I listen to these types of podcasts and other podcasts and see the WhatsApp group, the Facebook group, and you see how much pain certain coaches are going through with how to deal with the parents, and it's a big subject in grassroots football. Sure. We just haven't really had any major issues at all.
What have you done? I mean, do you think, because I think constant communication, like explanation is very important, right? Pre-season, during season, all of those steps are important, and try and communicate clearly what you're trying to do for the team and for their kids. Very, very important. Have you guys done anything around the communication sort of angle that you could give as an advice, or is there anything else you've done to help get the parents on side?
I think we're in a pretty lucky position because we talk about their kids and our football team on our podcast every other week. So they understand what we're going through, the pains we're going through, but also we talk a lot about how much their kids are improving. So from a communication point of view, absolutely we do. We talk to them a lot. I know you in particular would be talking individually to the parents, so not in a group setting, but afterwards he's sliding into the DMs and he's having one-on-one conversations.
Only the dads, by the way.
Yeah. But I think the other main thing is getting them involved. We aren't proven coaches, right? We're not coming into this saying we know. Well, I certainly knew absolutely nothing really. So we do want their advice, that we know that they are most likely more emotionally aware, especially of their kids. So they will understand what they're going through. And hopefully if we create a network and an environment where they can be open and honest with us about how their kids are feeling, then, to try and get a 7 or 8 year old to open up to you is pretty much impossible. So if we can get that communication going with the parents, then we're more likely to get a better outcome for the kids.
Very good. Ben, anything to add? What else other than communication do you think has been effective in this way?
I think it's being honest, not believing that you're holier than thou. So we asked for, what do you guys think? What would you change? I asked the parents to ask their children the other day, how do they feel about me and Mike shouting out instruction? Do they like it? Does it make them nervous? For the most part, pretty positive feedback, which is, by the way, is an element of progress. And actually, the truth is we would never really, it's only really our sons that probably get the more negative response on the sidelines. Then we're not going to do that to any other kid. But asking the parents for their advice, asking them to talk to their children. I talked to one mum on Saturday. I said, Logan, he when it's not going his way, he sort of seems to get upset in a game. Is he okay? She was actually saying she thinks he's going through some hormonal things at the moment. Boys at that age, and
sure.
He's quite emotional at school. So that's good for me to understand. Yeah. Because I've been sitting there thinking, am I doing something wrong? Is he worried? Like, is the tone of my voice wrong? Because he plays on the left, so he's often closest to me. Yeah. And I'm not shouting at him, but I will be saying to him, Logan, you stop ball watching, or when the ball comes to your side, I want you to press the ball. Or, I'm giving him instruction, but if I'm speaking quickly, loudly, or my tone of my voice is wrong, is that upsetting him? So it's all that kind of stuff. We've had lots of social events.
Yeah, that's true.
There's what you're saying about communication from the sidelines really important, because I think there is a balance, right? And I think that is something you learn over time, when to interject and when not to, because you do hit. I don't know if you guys are communicating all the time during a game, but I do think I'm probably looking at Ben. Yeah, he does. But I do think. I mean, with experience, I think you begin to tailor it and you begin to give, hopefully, the right information at the right time, not constant commentary and confusion. Because also, if you're on that touchline and you're telling a kid to throw backwards, and then on the other touchline the parents are saying throw forwards, sometimes you can see kids' confusion, particularly at your age group, directly caused by miscommunication from a group of parents and the coach that aren't on the same page, and that's fine. So I think and the guy I coached with, we've worked on trying to lessen our communication and be more, I guess, have more cut through for what we say and when we say it.
I would say,
which is difficult. It's a difficult balance, and I get it when you get in the emotion of the game. I get it, but yeah, I think that's most helpful to the kid, I think.
Absolutely, and I think, I'll let Mike jump in after me. This is something that we have definitely improved, right. 100%.
Oh, cool.
So we were constantly stuck in this, do you say nothing? Because you see some people saying that.
Yeah. And
my opinion has always been, well, what's the point of being the coach? And also, you might be able to say nothing when they're elite level players, but we're talking about kids that are playing at grassroots. Would you expect a teacher to take a class and not speak through the class? You're there to coach, you are there to talk, but what you're saying is important.
Sure.
And it's not even, I would actually say, it's not always the information, it's your tone of voice, what's your body language, all these little details
massive,
that you don't think about. That, I asked my son, so this is an example of how I thought I've got it right, but actually I haven't. So I've tried to stop shouting at my son, and I said to him, every week I go to him, how did I do? Like, I'm almost letting him review my performance. Did I do okay? Did I upset you today? And he's like, no. I was like, so I didn't upset you at all. I said, what about, is there anything I do in terms of my actions that you don't like? Because I know that I'm not speaking, but I know that my body's probably telling a different story. And he said, I don't like it when you turn your back when something bad happens.
Yeah.
So what I was doing, so that he didn't see my face and that I couldn't speak, if something negative happened, I'd turn away, like I'd just put my head down, or
that one.
Yeah, which I've done loads, by the way. And he's like, I don't like it when you do that. I was like, right, okay, I can't do that next time. So I was saying, you said it brilliantly the other day, basically kids see through your bullshit. They don't care if you're shouting out something positive. If your body is saying the opposite, they can detect that.
The whole time. I don't think it's just in communication. I think they assess things obviously very quickly, Ben. Like, are you being authentic or not? Is what you're doing good or not? Is what you're saying credible or not? They work it out instantly, don't they? And you can lose them with any of that stuff if you're out a little bit.
Yeah, don't think that just because you're saying the right stuff that you've cracked it, because you haven't.
Yeah.
There's no point doing this with your hands and then going, oh, well done. Like, they know that you don't think that. You've just done that with your hands.
And by the way, that is so hard. We've struggled.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we started, it was almost like a boxing match, and they press ding, 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 and we're like, right, let's go. And then I black out, and then the game's done. But it was that kind of vibe. And now it's a lot better, but still the body language is really difficult. It's just a natural reaction. Years of watching your team again, watching Arsenal at the start, fantastic. Over the last few years, been great. But for 10 years plus, it was just constant anger and anguish, right? And you're just so used to a missed chance, putting your hands up. It transfers into the way you coach.
Yeah.
It's really hard to almost coach that out of yourself.
I think that the biggest thing about our podcast was we wanted to create a space where people can say this. So I found everything completely disingenuous. People, obviously it's different for people like yourselves, right? Because you are professional coaches. You do sessions every day. Like you've mastered the art.
Well, you'd hope that.
Yeah.
But you obviously have a bit of up and down, Ben, you know, whether, I don't know, you feel a bit off or the kids are off or behavioural challenges.
You're a human, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to tap into, is this sort of this cancel culture of, look at that dad or mum, they've got really angry or they've just been a human being. Now, that doesn't mean to say, okay, you know what, it's totally okay that you lost your rag and you can do that every week. No, we're looking for you to have self-awareness, to try and be better, to know that you're doing wrong, to be able to repair that damage that you've done with your kid and want to get better. But we understand that you are a human being and you're asking someone to rewire their brain. I was saying to Mike the other day, all my time playing football from 8 years old, league tables, win. I played for a team that won all the time. Now I've got to this, you're telling me to change my mindset and say that I'm not bothered about winning. Well, I am. And I do care.
I think the Coerver position on this, Ben, is that winning, you got to value winning as much as performance. Everyone wants to win. You got to acknowledge that straight away. But the performance and development is as important. So you're now saying, yes, okay, we want to win, but we want to win when we're doing well, we're playing well, and we're developing in the right way as well.
I would say that me and Mike are working on that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say to you that we're there. We're not. But we are growing and learning to appreciate that. But it is hard.
So me personally, and I'm not speaking from a Coerver perspective, but I've got an extreme position. I'd rather play very well and lose than the other way around, personally. I'd rather absolutely boss the game, show brilliant skill, and just lose 1-0. I'm not happy, but I'm okay with that, rather than nicking one through a set piece or we didn't play as well as the other team. I'd rather be in that position. I know that's extreme, but
I think that's fine, because what you're saying is you're watching them play well. If you say to me, I want to win, but I want them to play well and get better because I want to see the development, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that I don't want to win every single game and then that my Sunday's ruined when I don't.
Oh, God.
I made a joke on the WhatsApp group where our game got called off at the weekend.
Yeah. What do you do in that circumstance, by the way, right? Because there's a void. There's a huge void.
I'm actually pretty happy and relaxed
you're okay.
to let them have a, you know, I don't desperately trying to get a friendly together. I think sometimes it's good for them to have a little break, because also all the boys in our team are doing extras.
Sure.
I mean, my boy, he would have played football 3 times already before the Sunday.
Yeah. Mike's
boy is the same. I don't mind that. It's okay, especially if they're going for a bit of a tough time and actually having a break from it is all right.
Yeah.
But I made a joke on the WhatsApp group where I was like, Estelle and Carrie, Estelle is Mike's wife, will be absolutely devastated the game's been called off this weekend. And I am serious, genuine, and I know Mike can jump in and say the same. Carrie has said to me, like, this is getting too much. Like, you're too bothered by it. She'll say to me, and I'm not saying this for effect, this is the genuine truth. I would be very quiet all day, and she'll be saying to me, what's wrong? And I'll be like, nothing. It's like, well, you're not behaving like yourself. And I'll just be miserable. Like, I know that what I'm saying is absolute insanity. I think, I'm a normal person, but normal-ish. And if I had not been involved in this situation and another person was telling me this, I'd be like, there's something wrong with you, mate. You need to relax. It's underage football. Take it easy. All logic and reason goes out my mind.
Is this your guys' first season? Second. Do you feel like there's been an improvement in that respect? Do you feel like you're managing that a bit better?
Absolutely worse.
worse. What, the Sundays? The emotional
whether you don't perhaps turn up and you get beat. Do you find like you're dealing with that better, Mike? Because in my experience, I've been less invested, actually. Enjoyed the game more and less invested by the result.
I think first season we did it, everything was new. And we won practically every game.
Right.
So we just didn't have those moments. It was just high. And this season we've lost 8 in a row. Is it 9 in a row?
No, it's 8 in a row.
Oh yeah. I just assumed we'd lose this weekend. That's why I got called off. No. So we lost 8 in a row, and we're just not used to that. So I agree with you. It will get better because we would be able, and it's kind of getting better now because we again can reflect on our emotions and say, okay, well that was pretty mental. We've got to curb that one. So I think if we ever go through a run like this again, we will be much better. Yeah, and year on year we'll get better.
That is such a good point. We needed this experience. The boys needed it. By the way, like 4 of the 8 defeats were by a single goal. So we're coming to terms with, like, I'm definitely getting better. What I should say is there are periods during that where I've like been really like frustrated, upset. Am I doing something wrong? Do the parents think I'm terrible at this? Do the kids not like me? Do they think training's boring? Are they enjoying themselves? All those things have gone through my mind, but I am getting better. Because what I would say is, collectively, the probably team is struggling, but individually you can see that each player is making progress.
Yeah. Perfect.
And also, we should say that we lost our best player. He went to play a higher level of football. That makes a massive difference. And then because at that level of football, one player can change a team. And we've had to shuffle boys around into different positions. And I would say, man for man, individually, you can see the boys technically, they are getting good. I just think their game understanding is
the area to improve.
Exactly.
And parents recognise that, Ben. It's like, and that will allow you, a bit more confidence from them. It will give you a bit more time. They'll realise it. People realise. I think when we were growing up playing, what was not interesting, what parents found as like desirable in the game, and what players aspired to be was different, right? Big tackles, big headers, big clearances. In the English game, that was all present. Now our game rewards different types of players, right? More technical players generally, are rewarded. And I think parents now are up to speed with that. They want to see their kid, boy or girl, play in that way rather than in another way. So I think that'll get you a bit more time, basically.
I think, yeah.
Or not.
I would say that maybe. I think that some of the parents, especially the dads, do care about winning.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that, by the way.
Yeah.
But I understand that they do. And I think what is really valuable about this experience is learning that at this age we're trying to teach them something rather than win, we're trying to teach them so when they get older, they are good players. And last weekend we were saying to each other, why did we start this? We started it because we wanted our boys to have a network of friends, because we want them to have a lifelong relationship with football and to love football. And we want to have a journey with them. So are we doing those things? Yes. But there has been it's been a valuable experience, I would say, this sort of time where it's more, do you know what? It's really about us just learning how to deal with ourselves. That's the problem. It's our egos. We want to win because it's our team.
It represents you.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
performance represents you.
We discovered this quite early on, and from that point onwards, I would say it's been about, that was like a eureka moment, that the reason we behave like this is because of our egos. And it sounds mental. Like, I understand that what we're saying is crazy to say you have an ego about football. It's not having an ego about football. It's your ego as an individual, as a person. I like winning. I want to win. Am I doing a good job? Am I helping these kids?
Yeah.
And that gets in the way of what you're really there to do.
We talked about a bit on your pod, Ben, about, you asked me the question, what should my objectives be? And my advice, I don't know if you remember, I just said, well, be clear on what you want to achieve. And it sounds like you and Mike are clear on it. And then that's your reference, right? That's how you judge performances, how you're doing, how the team's doing, etc., by your own criteria. And I think that's a good tip for a lot of grassroots coaches. Just, it might mean something completely different for you guys than it means for me. But if I can keep cross-referencing that and we know what we're doing, then I know how to track progress.
Yeah.
I think it seems like you guys are super clear on what you want to get out of the whole thing.
I don't know what you think, Mike, but I think training's good.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing really well with training. I think the sessions are great. The players are getting better. For us to take the next step in terms of actually being good volunteer coaches is managing game day and our emotions, and why do we think it's so important? Why does it mean so much to us? I don't have an answer for that now, and I'm not going to say that I'll be able to walk out of here and say that I don't care. I do. But I want to be able to treat game day as an extension of training, which is the thing that you told me. And I'm not quite there yet, but we're definitely trying to.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
Mike, anything else? One more thing that you guys have, well, I know you're going to be proud of a lot, but one more thing that you think you've done particularly well, you or Ben, this season?
I think actually having each other has been good. Really, really good. I think you need that support network. I think actually our podcast relates to so many people as well. Sorry to keep plugging it.
Yeah.
Is that
you guys have broken records for this.
As we've said, we're mental, but there's a lot of mental people out there that are going through the exact same pains, right?
Yeah.
But we've just had each other to bounce off the entire time, right? So we've been going on this journey together. We've had highs and lows at different times. Sometimes I might completely lose my head in a game and he can bring me down, and vice versa. So actually I think that's just progressed, and that relationship's progressed. And what I'd say for other coaches in the same boat as us is make sure that you're coaching with someone that can help you. It is a real support network. And I think it was Dan Abrahams that was saying, a sports psychologist, that was saying actually having that support network, whether that's your partner or the person you coach with, or someone that you know, a friend, to outlay your emotions to, your pain, your happiness, whatever it might be, is so important. And I think when it comes to coaching together, it is really, really helped us.
Definitely.
That's a great point.
I would say that you need someone that you can be honest with, who's been there and understands that no matter how ridiculous it sounds, as in this is underage football, you shouldn't care that much. It's just meant to be for fun. What is actually wrong with you? Being able to share that with someone and be honest about it. And genuinely, I would say the main theme of the incredible and overwhelming response that we've had to the podcast is basically like letting the shackles off for other people who can admit to having these feelings and frustrations, and not pretending to be perfect and not pretending to be the best coach and always behaving in the right way. And that is exactly why I started it. Again, I can't stress enough, I don't want people to, that's not a green light to behave how you want.
Yeah.
This is there to stop you doing that, but we're there to help you. But be honest about it, because if you pretend to yourself and deny yourself that you need to be better as a person, then you won't get better with it. And that is why we've had loads of experts on. That's why I've spoken to you. You know, that was like the foundation of a lot of what we did, and that was a really good starting point for us.
It's fun. Sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's funny that for so many coaches out there, grassroots coaches, they've never coached at all, ever. And
Right.
they'll volunteer, right? Or they might have done a brief bit of coaching somewhere. And in any other walk of life, you wouldn't just be expected to, start a job and you have zero experience and
Sure.
you just be, you got loads of people working for you. You just wouldn't have that kind of responsibility.
Particularly younger people, right?
Yeah,
Which is the
exactly. This
ultimate
kind of
responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with grassroots, it's just thrust upon you and you're expected to be perfect. And again, what we're saying is we're not perfect. You're probably not going to be perfect. But as long as you can admit that to yourself and try and work on it, that's the main thing.
Oh, I think this is a great segue to the second segment of the show, and I'm going to take this question to Ben. Now, Ben, what are the main things you've done wrong this season? And what's the advice or the tips you could get and the learnings from those things?
Okay, definitely the main thing, 100% that I've done wrong, and this is for advice for any mum or dad who's coaching a team with their child in the team, is don't over-observe your own child. That is the number one mistake that I've made. I'm on him all the time. And it's not, by the way, again, we always stress this on our pod. We're not, we don't get frustrated with mistakes. It's not listening. It's not giving 100% effort in our mind. But we did the episode we did with Dan Abrahams. He said, is effort a skill? I'd never thought of effort as a skill.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it as like an on and off switch. You either do it or you don't. And actually understanding why a child might not be working as hard as you believe they should be, and being curious about why they're not doing it, is actually the answer, not to castigate them, which is basically what my son has been on the receiving end of. I just over-observe him. I'm the bar for him, and his behaviour is here, and it's down there for everyone else. If you are not listening to a drill, if you don't do the drill perfectly, why have you not been listening? And been so hard and unfair on him. And we had a bit of a breaking point where he was getting really upset, and it was all my fault. He was playing, ball was on a Thursday and Friday, even now to a little bit, doing nutmegs, Maradonas, Iniestas. He's playing with a smile on his face, absolutely unbelievable. His footwork, fantastic. He'll play for me, and he's playing with fear. And if he makes a mistake, he's looking straight at me.
Yeah.
And that's my fault. And I've been trying to fix that. And what I realised, I was like, why am I always having a go at him? Because I'm only ever watching him. I'm not watching anyone else. And we've tried things like where Mike I'll be like, you coach him. I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm not.
That's helpful. If you get your co-coach to help, if it's something on the sideline or something like that, that's a good tip.
Yeah. So we tried that. I've had other dads talk to him outside of me and Mike, because I sometimes feel like, does he feel like me and Mike are always talking to him? And the best piece of advice I have for that is sitting down when your kid feels comfortable. So I'd normally do it at bedtime, because a big mistake I made was I want to do the grilling straight after the game.
In the car.
Yeah. Not just I want to, and also it wouldn't just be to assess what he's done. It's more, I want to fix the problem now because I feel guilty. So driven by my own guilt, I want to resolve the problem now. And the kid's not necessarily ready for that. So the best thing that I did, again, from the Dan Abrahams session, my car journey home now is good. I ask permission to speak about it. And if he doesn't want to speak about it, we don't speak about it. And sometimes I just take the decision not to talk about it.
And that's applicable, Ben, not just for football, obviously, right? Could be for academics, could be for another activity they like to do, could be a relationship they've got at school that's going well or not.
Yeah.
That what you're talking about, what you've learned from Dan Abrahams, is absolutely applicable in any sort of social sort of situation your kid could find themselves in, right?
Absolutely. And again, this is what I think that coaching is about, is you're trying to teach good habits. It's all through the prism of football, but you're trying to teach good habits for them to take into any part of their life, which is why the responsibility is far greater than people give it credit for, because what they learn in a team and with you, they can apply to all parts of their life. So my greatest learning was to ask permission to speak, and then if we wanted to talk about it, fine, cool, let's talk about it. Let's focus on the positives. Here are some things I thought you could have done well. A Q&A. And then at night time, speaking to him about it, asking him questions. What did you think of this? What did you think of that? And I then started asking him, how did I do? Did I shout too much? Did I make you feel good? Was you scared? Was you worried about what I was going to do? And giving him the opportunity to be honest with me. And it's really, really hard even now. He's not scared of my reaction. He doesn't want to upset me. Like sometimes, because I've said to him, do you think it'd be better if I didn't do this? And he gets really upset. He's like, no. He's scared that I won't do it if he says the wrong thing to me. Yeah. But I'm telling him it's totally okay. Like, I can't get better unless you tell me what I'm doing wrong. So that's the number one thing I did wrong, and that was the best. That's the progress I've made in getting better at it.
Well done, mate. That's fantastic. How about you, Mike? What's sort of one, I guess, weakness that you've tried to improve and analyse and then improve?
I think it would be realising that they are 6 when we started, 7 years old. That realisation that they will not understand what you're talking about instantly. They won't just adopt whatever you're saying straight away. It took me far longer than it probably should, but I'm sure, again, there's other listeners out there that will be going through the same boat. When you go through a drill, we talk about marking a lot. You go through the drill, you touch tight, your goal side, absolutely fine. You're doing it with them, and then in a game they just forget about it, and we get annoyed, and we still get annoyed now. So it's a bad point, but at the same time, we're starting to fully acknowledge that actually they're not going to get it straight away. Sure. It is progress over perfection, and it might take years for them to fully understand what we're trying to teach them, and we just need to curb our frustrations. But definitely at the start, I would say, right, this is the rules, this is how you do it, this is the training session. If you don't get it, how can you possibly not get this? We're walking you through it. That's changed a lot.
I think it's helpful to look at it like we do general education, right? Before going to uni, you've got to go to high school, and before that you've got to do primary, and before that you've got to do, and I think that in football we're looking to get straight to uni probably on day one, but they haven't had all that experience and all the ABCs that they need to get there.
It's absolutely true.
We did a Q&A of them as well, which, by the way, wasn't our suggestion. The parents suggested it. Another good reason to consult your parents. They've got older kids. They've been through it. They've got lessons they can share with you.
Yeah.
Actually, a number of the parents said that this was the problem they had with their older son when they were younger, was they were using language and terminology that the children didn't understand.
Sure.
Just you and me, typical football, like goal side. Do you know what that means? Because I'm shouting it at you. I don't think you do.
Press is another one that press. I'm like, how does an 8-year-old kid know how to press? Yeah. Firstly, they probably don't know what that means, and also physically, how are you going to ask an 8-year-old kid to press?
Yeah, anyway. Absolutely. So we did a Q&A. We had a little tactics board where they could move stuff around. Nice. I mean, sure, it looked like it did well, and then the next day they didn't do anything. We did it one week, and then I just wanted to reiterate some of that stuff. This boy Ollie, who we call him Gaza, because incredibly gifted, but an absolute maniac who just is beyond control, but does stuff. And you want to be annoyed, but you can't help but laugh. So to give you an example of his kind of character, one time I think I might have told you the story already, Jim, but they'd been messing about all session and I was annoyed of them. So I've sat them down and I was basically saying, you can't behave like this. So I'm giving up my time. Ollie's standing behind me, pings a ball, smacks me on the back of the head on purpose, right? All the parents, they're covering their mouth like this. They're trying not to laugh because they know I'm angry. And I turn around, and because it's him, I can't help but laugh. But anyway, we've done the Q&A. Then the next week, I wanted to reiterate these points. I get the tactics board out. He goes, "Oh, not this again."
Mate, I think that's also one of the most rewarding bits I didn't see coming about coaching our kids, is that getting to know the little personalities, how they emerge. Like your own kids, but also their teammates and stuff, and the humour involved in it and the situations. It's so funny, isn't it? Sometimes
it is,
like getting to know them. Basically,
it's really
kids.
Funny. I mean, our goalkeeper,
I was gonna say,
Albie Cam is absolute lunatic. Well, he's not a lunatic, sorry. He's just on another planet.
It's a surprise for a goalie.
Yes. he some of the best things he done. I'll tell one story, then you tell the story about when he shouted out about his sister's name. Yeah. But we're in this game, and just in the middle of the game, he's in goal, and he shouts out to his mum. He's like, "Mum, I think we need to cut my toenails." You're in the middle of a game. What are you doing? And then I've seen him before. The game's up the other end. I turn around, and he's doing air dives in the goal. Like, he's not saving anything.
Jens Lehmann used to do that. Jens Lehmann used to do that, didn't he?
So he's diving around. I've seen him. He just does mad stuff. And like Or he got man of the match one week, and we always say to them, like, go and clap the fans. Yeah. He went over to some mums and dads I don't even know, and he's clapping these mums and dads. Had nothing to do with it. And I can honestly say that how much you want those kids to do well, even though they're not your kid, you're rooting for them. Sure. And that is why I think the collective, it's like this collective thing where you're all invested in your kid, but if you want every other kid to do well, and that is what makes it such an amazing experience. But Mike had another story with Albie, which
I can't even remember that one. He's done so many.
The one where he goes, he's like in the middle of a game, you know, I can't remember what's going on, probably some really sort of close game, and he says, Mike, do you think I look like Ruby?
His newborn sister. Obviously my reaction was, can you shut up and stay in goal? But there's loads of characters. They're all characters. They're all so different. Yeah. And that was actually another really good learning that we've actually heard from a number of like elite coaches, and I think you've probably said it on the podcast as well, on your podcast especially, is that they're all different, and you do have to almost treat them differently and manage them differently, because we've got one kid, Ollie, who he will just be crazy and he will run around, and you do have to treat him a little bit differently because he won't sit down and just behave. He just won't do it. And then you've got others that will just stare off into nothing, and that is just who they are. But again, what we didn't do well was expect them to be very uniformed, exactly the same, and listen to us in, single file. It was never going to happen. They're all very different, and we're starting to come to terms with that slowly. But I do think sometimes we do need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit, because it has only been 18 months, and I think from where we were to where we are is vastly different.
The difference is it's also a heightened challenge, Mike, because you've got differences in behaviour and attitude, etc., but also playing ability, right? Especially at your level. You've got some kids that are beginners, and you've got others that are probably around the sort of pro game or whatever, the academy game. And the biggest challenge, I think, in grassroots, one of the biggest challenges is dealing with mixed ability players. How have you guys done that, particularly in training? I think on game day, you want a balance, etc. It might be a bit more straightforward. But in training, have you tried to put best with the best, or do you mix the groups, or how do you do it with mixed ability?
Mike might feel differently, but I don't think there's a vast chasm.
Oh, okay, all about the same ability.
But they're good at different things.
Right.
So you've got Freddie in our team who's ridiculous, like unbelievable talent, ability, ball mastery is crazy, can strike the ball really well for his age. But defending and tackling, that's not his thing. Yeah. You got a boy, Harry, who's not going to be able to manipulate the ball like Freddie. But I mean, this boy tackles with murderous intent. And I absolutely love it. And so I don't know if there's there's differences in ability of what they can do, but there's no kid in the team where you're like, he shouldn't be in this team.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. They just do. They have different strengths and weaknesses, and that's a challenge for you guys as coaching, right? Because what do you work on that will help them all?
That is definitely the biggest challenge of training. Yeah. It's like, well, we need to work on shooting, we need to work on finishing, defending. Yeah. I think I said this to you. It's like, what do you even do in training? I mean, there's a million things you can do. Yeah. What you're trying to do is have a drill where it kind of works a little bit of everything, because you've only got a short period of time to work with them. And I would say that definitely more of a thing today is kids doing football, organised football more often. The amount of, Coerver was like, when I met you, Coerver was like the only thing that I'd ever knew outside of basically playing for a team. Teams. And now there's like loads and loads of training sessions, and parents are spending more and more money. Not that we have a massive knowledge of this, by the way, but I do think it may be something when we get older is not to get duped by a lot of this stuff. I see a lot of these like coaching organizations, like connections with scouts and networks, and Mike showed me one before, and like, you've got to pay to do this like trial thing, and I'm like, anyone can arrange for a scout to come up, but what are they learning?
It's very disingenuous a lot of the time, Ben.
I do. I think because of my awareness of basically being involved with yourself from for a long time now, I think I can look at something and feel like, well, that's actually got a good foundation to it. But I see a lot of them and I feel like this is just some chancer who's put together a little coaching thing. He knows someone at some Premier League club and they're going to get a scout down. But what is it really worth the money? And I think a lot of parents chase that dream and they're spending loads and loads of money on it and they think it's going to be like the answer. And I don't necessarily think it is. So not massively something that we ever experienced, but I do think parents have to look out for that.
Yeah. No, it's a good tip. And is there any other sort of tips you give to parents, Ben? Because I think what's been clear about you guys, that the way you've engaged parents has been absolutely brilliant. And that's a great, I'm going to use that one about the Q&A with the kids. And I think that's a great idea. Anything else you've taken from parents that you think that other coaches, grassroots coaches can learn from?
Tips from parents?
Yeah. Any things that you've incorporated due to the feedback of parents into your practices?
There was one actually, yeah. We constantly battle and mentally and physically battle each other about formation. And it's five-a-side, right? So it's either a diamond or a box, pretty much. And we thought, we got a bit clever and we were doing really well. And we changed to a box formation and then things started to unravel. And it was one of the dads, Ollie's dad, Adam, said, just go back to basics. You know, don't get too smart with this. Just go back to basics, go back to what they know. And our performances did pick up because we were just trying to overload them with too much information. And it's not just a simple box. It was, you know, you hunt as a pair and you get forward and backwards and you have a partner. And we were just trying to give them too much information here. Right. And when we went back to basics, our performance did pick up. But the battles are coming back because we've lost 8 in a row in a diamond formation. So do we change things up again? So we don't have the answers for this. But it was a good tip to just say, we feel like you're potentially overloading them. Sure. Just go back to basics.
I think for me, it's a kind of an extension of the answer about involving parents. But you know how it is now where they're on the sideline and you're here. I think for me, the biggest thing was it's not a separation of us as the coaches and you're the parents who don't know anything. It's more, we're in this together. Share your ideas with us. Admitting your flaws, admitting you might not know something, taking on advice from other people and feeling like they can influence this as well. That I'm not dismissive of your opinion. We're just dads. We're just, you know, it could be any one of yous over here. We're just the ones who volunteered to do it. And more seeing it as a group, like when Mike's not there, one of the other dads, Danny, gets involved. Albie's dad, Dan, has been getting involved. Like I let him do all the goalkeeper stuff. So nice. I've had different dads on the sidelines. You know, we see this as a collective rather than it's just me and Mike in charge.
Yeah. We try and involve parents in our grassroots team in that way as well, whether it's sort of football related stuff or maybe organising the socials that we do, just so they feel like they're contributing to the community of the team. Yeah. Also, I think when there's a couple of parents we ask to do maybe the pre-match little speech or talk or whatever. I mean, because I
quite like that.
Maybe not so much half time where you're trying to adapt and make specific points to specific players, but pre-match, you know, half the kids aren't listening anyway, right? Especially if you're waffling.
I would say half, Jimmy. I don't think half.
Yeah, so it's a lot of waffle, isn't it? Yeah. So my tip would be very specific and brief with your instructions to kids at all times. Be as brief as you can because they're not listening, especially maybe under 12. They're not listening, particularly boys. I think girls generally, my experience is you got them the attention, concentration a bit more than boys. But so how do you make your communication again more succinct? And you can ask a parent to come in to do the pre-match then under those sort of.
Yeah, but they also then get an idea of how little they listen. So, you know, you might be sitting over there thinking, I'd be doing a better job of this. Yeah. Right? Come over here, see how much they listen.
Danny did, didn't he?
Yeah. Danny, we did a 7-a-side friendly recently. And
because you're going up next season.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of the organisation of the pitch was a bit of a shambles. So I was kind of talking to their manager and trying to work out where we'd play. And Danny, who's one of the dads, he was helping me because Mike wasn't there. And I've come over to him and I was seeing his face and he's like, I don't know how you do this every week. he's like, they don't listen, they just don't listen. I was like, yeah, I know, it's really hard not getting frustrated. Again, this is something that we've worked on recently, and one of the best tips that I'd say that we received is what would be our trigger point was we'd be all week like, we are going to be the best coaches ever. We're going to be so positive and happy, and we're not going to get annoyed about anything. And we turn up, and then they start messing about, smashing the balls everywhere, not listening. Now I'm agitated. And the problem was, is I find it hard to move from that agitated state to I'm now calm. So we changed what we did when we get there. I know Scott spoke about this, about having a little game going on during half time, turning up with an activity like when
all ready to go.
Yeah. So that's difficult for us because we can't get on the pitch beforehand for training.
Sure.
But we did this on Saturday. So Neil Harris, 21 years at Man United, we spoke to him the other day, and he's got a son called Jamie who's just started his coaching journey. Okay. And they suggested just give them something to burn their energy out. So we literally got there, threw out 4 mini goals. You walk on, you get a bib or you don't, 3v3. They're so excited. This is something we hadn't thought of, right? They don't go to school together. So they're seeing each other for the first time that week. They are hyped. They are so energetic. They've just got there. Their mum's got a new football kit on. He's got new boots on. They're running around like maniacs. And that would annoy me when I'm sitting there like, right, this is the drill we're doing now. 3v3, banged it out. They run themselves out for 10, 15 minutes. Now I've got their attention. And we only did that. That literally only happened last Saturday.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Yeah,
and before that, I was getting, I just found it so hard to calm down after, don't smash that ball over the fence, kicked in the goal, kicks it in his face, he starts crying. It's like
wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we've wasted we've got 1 hour a week, we've wasted 10 minutes because you've been messing about.
Generalisation, Ben, but I think with boys in particular, the age group that you've got to go straight, like you experience, straight into activity that's demanding physically, maybe, creatively or mentally, whatever. That's how you capture boys' attention generally. Yeah. I think girls, you can explain, this is what we're doing because it's going to be of this benefit to you, and take your time a little bit more. But boys,
I know one thing that would also get us really annoyed was we'd play a game, none of them are running, walking around, daydreaming, come off, final whistle goes, they're in the goal, sprinting around, wrestling each other, hitting. Hold on, where was this energy? Yeah. Where was this energy 5 minutes ago? And then you'd realise. So again, that's another thing we've got better at. Saying, well, that's just do that. That's
acceptance.
Yeah.
Inconsistency is inevitable. Mistakes are inevitable.
Yeah. I think that acceptance is a big word for us, and accepting they are kids. It's like, we're fuming. We've lost this game and you lot were walking around daydreaming. That's what's going through our head. And they're like chasing each other, drinking. Have you seen this new bottle of Prime? What football cards have you got? What are you talking about football cards for? You just lost 5-0. And that was another thing, was accepting. And not accepting, learning from the fact that they could move on like that. Yeah. And you're like, that's how you should be.
That should. Try your best when you're there, training and game, but afterwards shake hands and then have fun.
And that's a lesson we've learned from them.
Great.
Is to just, I haven't quite mastered it, but just to relax after the game.
Well, you guys have talked really, I think, very well about your experiences, both positive and how you turn negatives into positives, like how you've learned. And it seems like you guys are doing an absolutely brilliant job. And on your pod, It's Only Kids Football, you've also interviewed some fantastic guests, professionals and experts in different areas of the game. If you could sort of give us a tip each, guys, from maybe a top 3 or a top point that you took from one of those experts that you've had a conversation with and applied it to your own grassroots journey, Mike, what would one of those be? One bit of advice.
I think we've said him a few times on this, but the Dan Abraham one was a big thing for me. I thought he's a sports psychologist, worked with Arne Slot and loads of major coaches. He's so knowledgeable just about psychology, not just sports, but sports psychology in particular, and football. And I think the one thing he said was game face. I don't know if you know game face. It was before a game, and you just use it throughout the week. With it again, it doesn't have to be football. Is your kid or the kids that you're coaching, they need to pick 3 things that are going to be their persona for that game or that activity. So it could be strong, energetic, messy. And in their head, they just reinforce that message of being strong, energetic, messy, strong, energetic, messy. And then when you go before the game, you say, right, what's your game face? Strong, energetic, messy.
Brilliant.
They get happy about it. They're thinking about it. They want to play like Messi. They want to be strong and energetic. Or it could be, I don't know, I can't remember the other ones, but it could be like strong, powerful Van Dijk if they're a defender, or there's a million different variations. Or it could even not even be a footballer. It could just be a cheetah. I want to be strong, super fast cheetah, whatever it might be.
Sure.
That has been a real plus point with my son in particular.
So how do you introduce it to him, Mike? Are you saying on like night before the game? How does that involve itself in your with your son or your team?
The reason I said strong, energetic, messy, that is his thing. He basically uses that for everything now. Okay. Any kind of physical activity, he's strong, energetic, messy. He came up with it. I didn't give him any tips or anything. He just came up with those three.
Wow.
And that would have been probably when we did the podcast. So just on the Monday before school, if he plays football at lunchtime, he's going to be strong, energetic, messy. And he just keeps reiterating that to himself. And now I can, every time before a game, who are you going to be? Strong, energetic, messy. Or he might change it up occasionally, but he's got this thing in his head now. And I do think it's helped him mentally. It's a bit of fun, but it can just get them out of this funk. Because one thing we did notice, sorry I'm rambling on here, is that we didn't really appreciate the emotional side of things. They do get nervous. Sure. They are children. So when we're saying just go out there and give it your all, they might look ahead of them and say, that kid is so much bigger than me. I'm scared of him. But if you can start to instill these positive mindsets into them, it might change the way that they feel and the way that they behave on the pitch. So that's been a real big point from Dan.
Really good. Okay, thanks, Mike. How about you, Ben? What's one thing that you've learned, or that you've directly applied to how you're looking at the game and coaching it?
Well, I think not just because we're on the Coerver Coaching Podcast, but because when I was introduced to Coerver, when I met you, I'd never known anything like that. That was completely alien to me in terms of how I'd learned football. But choosing a way that you're going to approach your training, I think is really important, because then it simplifies everything and gives you a focus. And I was always going to do Coerver, ball mastery, 1v1, small-sided games. That was always what I was going to do. But during the course of the time that I've been doing it, if it hasn't gone well, because what happens is you go on social media and you see these drills, right? But these drills are with kids that are like, at Arsenal and Man United, and these are unbelievably talented children, and what you can do is you can get like drill envy, and you can think, why it doesn't go like that when I do it, and why don't the kids listen or do it as sharp and with as much energy? And I'll be sitting there thinking, there's something like, am I doing something wrong? Why doesn't it play like that when I do it? And then you can overcomplicate training, and you try and all this stuff because you're coaching for yourself, you're coaching for the parents, but actually always remember that you're coaching for the kids. 1v1, ball mastery, small-sided game. Simple, effective, everyone understands it, everyone's touching the ball all the time, everyone's involved. And you accept that you may lose your way in the season and think that there's a better way, but actually when you come to that, it's something it's something that the kids will understand and stick to it.
Yeah.
And having that foundation for what you want to do forms everything that you do moving forward. So from the outset, I'd say, obviously we use Coerver, but I think whatever you want to choose, have that. You said that to me. Work out what you want to do and go from there. And I think that's really important. But probably, for me, it's always been more about the emotional stuff, because I am an emotional person. Find it quite hard to control them and stuff. But understanding that they're just little boys or they're just little girls. And I interviewed Scott Chickleday. He's a striker coach, and he said to me, he was coaching his son's team, and he saw this dad who was the coach be really mean to his son, and he said, "You're your kid's hero. Why would you want to? You don't want to. They see you as their hero. No kid wants to be spoken to like that by their hero." And that really stuck with me, because it just reminded me that at that age you're the center of their world, and they look up to you and you're their everything, and they're learning from you. And then for you to talk badly to them, to upset them, to potentially ruin their football experience, you're going to make mistakes. Absolutely. And I have done 100%. But try to remember that. Try to remember they're just a little boy or a little girl that needs your help. And to coach and not criticize, that's a big thing for me. Don't look at what's gone wrong. Don't tell them what's gone wrong. Ask them how you can help them do it better next time. Me and Mike are really trying hard now to not coach during the game, coach after. So let them make the mistake and then talk to them after. Again, I say we don't get it right every time.
Yeah.
But I think it's in the last few weeks that's been a really good thing for me. If he's said something, I'll be like, no, don't say anything. And he's done the same to me. On Saturday at training, my son took a bad first touch, and the team scored. And I said to him, you need to be ready to receive the ball. And he was saying to him, no, just leave him. Don't say anything to him. Talk to him after. And don't think about don't jump on what they've done wrong. Sit there, take a minute and think about how I'm going to help them do it better next time.
Sure. I think what you were saying, Ben, about going back to the structure of the drills and stuff, about sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Thinking of them in this context always helps me. How can I make it harder and how can I make it easier? And that's normally to do with the logistics of the drill. Do I make the equipment or the space, or do I make it bigger or less time or more time? So don't be afraid to change something. If you see something's going wrong, it's okay to change it mid-drill. You might want to make it a bit bigger to allow them to experience a bit more success. If you're working with good players, you do the other thing. You make it a bit more difficult for them. So I thought about that when you said you experience success with some of the drills and other times it doesn't. That's normal too, mate. You got to accept that.
I think but what I don't have that you do, which is the biggest flaw I think is you've got loads of reps and experience, so you can see when it's going wrong. I can see when it's going wrong, but do I know why it's going wrong? That's a good coach that can look at that. You would say, oh, it's because the space isn't big enough, or it's because we've put this thing. I think with experience and time and confidence, I feel better at that.
Yeah. To be able to have the confidence to adapt.
Yeah, but also sometimes you get frustrated, and you're frustrated because you don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So you're almost taking it out on them because you don't know what's going wrong.
Right.
And I've watched drills before, and I'll be like getting really frustrated, and actually it's my fault because it's either too complicated, it's too hard, or I haven't explained it properly.
Well, if they're not experiencing success, it is your fault.
Yeah.
You've set it up, or my fault, or whatever. You've set it up wrong. It's too demanding for them. So how do you then make it easier? Maybe instead of like the small goals, you use the big goal, or you give them 20 seconds and not 10 seconds, or whatever it is.
But listen, you've asked us enough questions. I want to ask you some questions.
All right.
Right. Everyone knows what you do.
Yeah.
Your involvement, your years of coaching, your business. You as a dad, you're on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Do you feel a certain level of expectation from the parents, and does that make it harder because they're like, it's Jimmy's runs Coerver, he's been doing it his whole life, his dad's did it, he's got to be a good coach. If the team doesn't have success, are you worried that do you think they expect them to have success with you?
I think, mate, that it's got better, like since maybe your age group, when I started coaching my son. I think at the same age that you guys did, under 7, right? Yeah, from under 7s. I've become much more comfortable with it. I think also, I'm happy to say, the proof's in the pudding. Where we are now as a girls team under 12 and a boys team under 12, players have improved. We're a good side. I mean, we've got players all over the shop that are decent, and we can attack from all sorts of areas. We play well. It's actually, I'm happy to say, I think in our experience, we've done the work, U7 to U12. Now, really, myself, my mate Matt, who take the teams, and Dan, who takes me and him take the female team, the girls team. Our involvement is a lot less now. I mean, in training, it's there. We set things up. We demand high intensity. We demand that the kids have fun. But on match day, we know how we want to play. The kids know how we want to play, and now we've empowered them to communicate that. And really, our involvement on the touchline is very minimal. So they're doing it now, which is great, which is our idea right from the start. Empower them to make the decisions, to communicate to one another. And a couple of the players are setting the standard now for how to train and how to play in the games. And so we don't have, I don't think the responsibility is as much now. I don't feel pressure as much because I think we've not proved it, because we lose games. We're not like I was going to say Man City. We're not Arsenal. We're not steamrolling every team, but more often than not, we play well. and we might not win every week, but we play a certain way, and we believe it, players believe it, parents believe it, and I think we're just improving. We're starting to lose players to better teams, but the recruitment of other players is relatively straightforward at the moment. So
we're different personalities, right? You're
Yeah.
very positive, happy, nice.
you
better looking.
Yeah, well,
You
I've
say
got the
what,
same
say
bonnet though, man.
Hey.
I've got the comb over.
We might be levelling up in the parlance, thanks. But I appreciate we're different personalities, and I feel like you'd be really good with all your experience you've had with coaching kids, but you're coaching your own children.
Yes.
So honest, straight up, I want
Yes.
to know, when they were doing things you didn't like, mistake, behaviour,
Yeah.
were you surprised about how it made you feel and react at times?
Yes. We talked about this on your
We
pod,
did.
Ben. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my son, I overreacted behaviourally, effort-wise. If you're not doing what I expected from an effort perspective, come on. Or behaviourally, and he's such a good boy, if just 1 millimetre out, I stamp that out immediately and overreact, just how you explained. Over the years, I've improved in that respect, and he's doing great, and he's an example, I think, as well, in terms of his application and his attitude. My daughter, that's something completely different. She likes football but doesn't love it. Her thing's dance. That's pure joy. She wants to be sub so she can spend some time with me on the touchline. Can you imagine your son saying, "Oh, Dad, today I want to be sub"?
Well, I'd say go home.
Yeah, so Ben, she's saying, "I want to be sub, and me and you can do some stuff on the touchline. We can talk about the game, and it's a different thing." So yeah.
Well, there's a future coach in the making.
Well, I think she'll be dancing and that sort of stuff, Mike. Yeah.
Okay, so this will be useful for Mike, because Mike's got a daughter. I've got 2 sons.
Yeah.
How do you treat? I don't care what you say, Jim. Okay. Every dad I've spoken to, no matter how much you want to keep it a level playing field, there's
Yes.
no way you're not harder on boys. I just feel like it's impossible not to be. I mean, obviously your daughter, it might be different due to kind of how much she loves football.
Yeah.
But did you ever, and maybe she didn't step out of line, but did you feel like you behaved differently towards her?
So Ben, I honestly, this is something I think about too, is how to communicate, to try and understand what I'm watching and the group that I'm helping, and then try and tailor my approach to that group. So we've got a sort of mixed ability boys team that's doing well. Everyone's improving. We've got a very good girls team under 12, which my daughter's not part of. So then what I'm asking the players to do is probably a little bit different, right? And how I'm communicating. I'm not rollicking anyone. I'm just saying this is what's expected. And they respond to that because they're good level players. My daughter's team, now that's mixed ability players. Last season we were getting hammered regularly 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. And what's so sweet is the goalie, who's probably had in the last 5 games of the season, probably she's conceded, I reckon, 35, 40 goals. And she's smiling the whole time. So how can I approach that situation the same way I would approach the other girls' team who are decent players? It's completely different. So my advice, I guess, would be try and understand what you're dealing with and tailor your approach accordingly.
Okay, and I feel we're guilty of this. Now, obviously, we like to be self-deprecating. We want to show that we're flawed and whatnot. But sometimes I feel like we focus a lot on the negative of, you said it to me before, there's always so much negativity around football parents on the sidelines,
Sure.
football coaching. It's always so bad. Everyone takes it too seriously, etc., etc. But put that aside, there's just some absolutely beautiful, emotional, magic moments, the connections, friendships, everything. I absolutely love it. I am so involved in it. It's why I wanted my son to be involved in it. What do you love? What have you enjoyed the most? How amazing is it when something really positive happens with your son or daughter during a game, and how good does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's pure joy. But to your point, Ben, I think it now extends to the other kids in my team. Obviously, they're not my kids, but if they do something good, they score a goal, they say something funny, it's as rewarding to me now as my son or daughter doing it. It's a beautiful way to live, and there are so many positive examples, everywhere. Especially, everywhere, but in our country, of amazing volunteers like you guys giving up their time. You were telling me about, some of the volunteers in your club and the stress that they deal with just to be able to provide a game schedule for their club, or organising the match tees, or organising the parking. I think about a lady that helps us on a Saturday. She volunteers to organise the parking, which it's like Cairo. It's like rush hour Cairo over there. And she's there, so well-natured, park over there. I'm thinking, wow, there's so many brilliant people involved in this amazing game. And because I didn't make it as a pro, that's what I take from the game myself. I think about all the friendships I had from the game, and including you, Ben, and now you, Mike. But
listen, this is my
okay. Mike's got enough mates. No, but that's what I've taken from it.
Yeah. And to be fair, every pro that we've interviewed, when we talk about their grassroots journey, even if it was very minimal and they'd gone straight into the academy setup, they all remember their first team. They all remember their mates when it didn't mean as much as it does when you get to that professional level. They all know them by name. They're still mates with them. They remember the moments. And again, that's what we want for our boys. If they get to the academies and they push on that way, fantastic. If they don't, we just want them to have this friendship and these memories. And that's what it's all about. And then in turn, hopefully we'll have those memories as well.
Sure. Now, there are challenges, obviously, frequent challenges. But again, if you have your North Star, what you're trying to do, you reference that, you're going to get things wrong. You've got to accept that. But if you've always got that North Star that you're trying to navigate towards, you're not going to go wrong.
No, but I think our North Star, like I said, is real simple. Network of friends, love of the game, a relationship with football that you love and you want to play it. Yeah. And I think for the mistakes that I've had, more than caring about losing was, am I jeopardising my son's love of football by being too intense? And that's what I'm trying to move away from. And I can't tell you, me and Mike, when we take them, when they do ballers on a Thursday and Friday, and you see them do a bit of skill, way ahead of us at that age, like way ahead.
Yeah, the standard's ridiculous.
And they're like, they do this piece of skill and you forget how old they are. You're like, oh my God, did you see how good that was? Yeah. And when he comes off, like, he's just so happy. And he's like, Dad, did you see when I did that bit of skill? And that's the moments that you love more than anything.
The standard's incredible.
Yeah.
The technical standard in England is ridiculous.
I can't believe some of the boys. Yeah. Like, I mean, our boys as well. It's like, by the way, I'm not saying, my son's going to be the next Messi, certainly not, but just even that he can do any of these skills at this age and that he has the confidence to do them and he's doing it right foot and left foot. Like the thing I love most from the Coerver, inside outside, right foot, left foot.
Well, Dennis Bergkamp, if you ever watched his pre-game warm-up, Bergkamp had 1,000 touches in that way. Did you know that, Ben?
No, I didn't.
That was his pre-match. So the Ajax score was kind of influenced a lot by the Will Coerver ball mastery techniques. And if you ever watched Bergkamp, he said it pre-match, he'd do that ball mastery 1,000 times to get his touch ready.
I just think inside outside.
Yeah. It's called the dribble cut, where you do it with your right foot, outside, inside, then you shift it onto the left.
Yeah.
And then if you add a fake shot on the inside cut, you think about how many goals Bergkamp got like that, where he's faked the shot, cut inside, and then he's opened up the left foot or the right foot.
I just think that's the foundation for starting any game of football. Like, we do it in our warm-up, and that's the first thing I do. And I'm always saying to them, I want you to get a feel for the ball with both feet.
Well, certainly the fluency, the connection between both feet, that's still one of the best ways to do it.
Definitely. I kind of remember with the Coerver drills, it was like, if you've got the ball and you're on whatever side of the ball or side of the pitch you're running, you want to be able to control the ball with that foot that you're on so that you can create distance between you and the defender.
Yes.
Otherwise, if you're running down the left and you've got it on your right, and you're showing the defender the ball, and I love that.
So my son, he's got 12-year-old boy. He's not going to be a professional footballer, but his strength is he's two-footed, and you often hear other parents say, "What's going on? How is this happening? How is he doing?" And obviously, it's no secret. It's the Coerver work, and I'm beginning to see now the younger age groups that we're working with from a Coerver perspective, not being completely two-footed, but left foot, no problem. Pass, shoot, run the ball, no problem. First touch, no problem. And you think to like professional football, they can all use both feet brilliantly. They're pros and they're unbelievable. But truly two-footed pros, truly. I mean, I don't know if you guys can call off a few now, but I think Ballack was two-footed
Santi
completely.
Corzola.
Santi Corzola, yeah. Corzola was the
He's the
master.
one that everyone talks. Taking corners of left foot, right foot.
Ridiculous. David Silva probably too.
Yeah.
Zidane.
Yeah.
Zidane.
Yeah.
So there's a handful of those special
But
special
these
players.
are top.
Yeah,
top,
ridiculous.
top, yeah.
But what a great motivation to say you can get there. Iniesta probably more. Was he left? He was a righty playing on the left. Iniesta, I think.
I'm not sure. He. I mean, what I show my son. Actually, I show my son Busquets, and because my son's not. He's not fast and he's not big. Look, I know Busquets was a bit. He's not fast and he's not big. And I was like, you don't need to be fast and big. Look at this guy.
Go.
He just absolutely. You watch his highlights on YouTube. It's an absolute joke.
How do you make something so difficult look so easy?
I know, but he is like completely unflustered, never sweating, never breaking into a sprint.
Ridiculous player.
Barely like the most subtlest of a body movement to send someone, for a hot dog, is just an absolute joke. And I show him all the time. I'm like, look at this guy.
Ridiculous player.
Yeah, I was all it is all about ball mastery and scanning. Yeah. Scan. He knows what's happening all around him all the time.
Yeah, that intelligence, Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, when people say footballers are thick, I mean, please, they're computing that in real time, that utter chaos, and he makes something so chaotic look so simple and beautiful. The guy's was operating on a different level, wasn't he? Busquets. But Xavi, all that Barca thing, they all were operating. I used to like, do you remember Juan Roman Riquelme?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, another player, absolutely zero athleticism, but
No, he found it hard to get around the pitch, didn't he?
But you watch him and he's like I say, I love those players where it's the subtleness of their movement that, I mean, look at Messi, he doesn't do any skill. He doesn't do tricks.
Well, he's got the side step.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't do tricks, right? He doesn't do tricks. He's not a Neymar, who's actually doing he reads your body. And drop of the shoulder absolutely kills you. Stop and start.
Stop that slow to fast.
Yeah, we talked about that on our pod the other week.
Yeah.
Slow someone down and then explode.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, I love those players.
Well, Arsenal have obviously had an unbelievable tradition of players. We were talking about David Rocaster the other day.
Rocky.
And when you're talking about a graceful, and all those other players we talked about, they have a gracefulness to their game, don't they? Where they don't look rushed. It looks like pretty simple to them. And he certainly was one, wasn't he? And obviously Arsenal have had unbelievable players like that.
But I love that unflustered, completely natural, fluid way of moving rather than like everything is. I mean, I love Declan Rice, but do you know what I mean? He's all explosive but players that kind of slow it down. And
Odegaard is an incredible meeting of technique and industry, isn't he?
His pressing's unbelievable.
Oh my God!
But you wouldn't think of him as a pressing player.
No.
When you think of who Odegaard
must be a nightmare to play against.
Yeah, I'd hate that.
He's so good.
Because it's all day long too. I mean, his engine. Same with Bernardo Silva. Their physical capacity is remarkable. And Silva, to play the way he does with his relatively small size, he's such a brave player. You get asked for the ball all the time in those tight areas. And
it's funny you say those two things. So one, something me and Mike have changed. We tried for the first time on Saturday was who's your favourite player, like your position?
Yeah,
it's a good
you're my Saliba, you're my De Bruyne, you're my Ronaldo, and the boys love that. We hadn't done that before.
Yeah,
and I always say to my son, be brave.
Yeah,
and I said to him, I don't mean going into a tackle, putting your head. Yeah, what I want you to do is, if you've given the ball away 2 times and they've scored 2 goals, be brave and ask for it again.
Absolutely, straight away.
Yeah, and I counter that by saying, I have to be the driving force of that, and I have at times reacted, bad body language, to losing possession, scoring a goal. So it's one thing to say I want you to do it, but I've got to make him understand that I'm okay with it, and it's what I need to get better at. But I'm always saying to him, I don't care how many times you get it wrong. The worst thing to do is hide. Be brave and just play.
A good example of you doing that was the OG, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When Alf scored an own goal, which was really unfortunate. It was actually a fantastic finish.
It was decent. It turned into prime Henri.
It was unreal. But I think because that was quite an extreme mistake for kids that age, any kid at that age would be in floods of tears, wouldn't they? And he was just about to go that way, but I think you just instantly were on him in a really positive way. Well,
Right.
we all were, and the parents were, and the ref was amazing. And he just snapped out of it instantly, and he was fine. But honestly, if that had happened to him a few weeks before, we would have reacted totally differently. I'm sure the ref would have been fine and the parents would have been fine, but
Yeah.
we would have been different. His reaction would have been totally different. So that was a prime example of our behaviour, body language and language can make a huge difference to especially our boys, but all the kids on the pitch.
And that, sorry, Jim, one other thing I wanted to say is, and I know it kind of, obviously Coerver's all about coaching. What I actually found in my son was, what helped him was, I took him over twice to like a local pitch, no coaching, just play. I'm not going to tell you how to do something better. I don't care how many times you get it wrong, and just play because you like playing football and you love it. And I actually don't think kids do enough of that now because there's so much coaching going on. Yes, there should be absolute times, repetition, that we are coaching and we're helping you, but sometimes just play because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I don't think he does enough of that, and that's probably because of me, because I think every time you play football is an opportunity to get better. But actually, just by playing and playing for fun,
Yeah, sure.
you're getting better anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
But the street football thing, obviously, unfortunately, Ben's no longer with us,
Exactly,
right? So,
exactly.
and also all the kids' other demands and what they're into. It's probably not realistic anymore. When we were kids on our road growing up, we play all the time on our street, on my mum's little front garden. We'd be playing the whole time.
absolutely.
It's not really there for them anymore. So organisation, these academies, etc., have stepped in and do a good job for that respect. But I agree with you. Like if you live near a park, obviously encouraging them to get the ball out and have a kick around with you or their mates is.
I mean,
really
do you think
important.
Maradona was, Maradona,
Well-
the absolute joke of a player? He's just going out and playing in the street.
So Ben, I don't know if this is appropriate for this pod, but we went to Argentina last December. It's a country I've always wanted to go, mostly, well, for everything, but mostly from a football perspective. It is the way they think about football is different to us. I know we're a football country in the passion, but there it's something different. We went to Argentinos Juniors. It's a first division club from Buenos Aires, and it's Maradona's first club, and it's a bit like maybe Leyton Orient or something like that. Inner city club and proud tradition, but haven't really won much. And he was there from 16 to 20, I think. And you go to the little stadium and it's a mural of him wrapped around in terms of the paintings and graffiti all the way around the stadium. You go around the corner and then you go into the prayer area where his face is there, and there's the stalls or whatever where you can pray and give your thanks for Maradona. The thing was packed. I mean, there's a congregation of about 100 people in there, and then they've got. So that's there, and you go out, and on the balcony above, there's a statue of the Pope. I don't know if it's the current Pope or the last Pope, and then above it, this is a Catholic country, it's Diego Maradona, and you see his murals throughout that city, and I'm sure throughout Argentina, but it was ridiculous. And mate, we were over there. We did like a bit of a study tour. Watched a lot of grassroots football, girls and boys, very good. And then my dad actually did a clinic for the coaches at Independiente, which is again another Buenos Aires club. And God, mate, I think it's the U14s.
Were they ridiculous? Yeah.
I mean, talk about competitiveness. I think technically, like we've been lucky with you, Ben. We've gone to a lot of great academies over in England, and the levels extremely, extremely high. I think the differentiator was particularly the 1v1 duels and the defending part and how they want to recover. And I mean, brutal.
Really?
Yeah. And then, there's a clash, they pick each other up and they go again. But it was an amazing session to watch. The standard was excellent.
Did you see that clip the other day of that Palmeiras youth team? It was playing like
No.
in a futsal tournament.
Did it kick off?
No, they're just an absolute joke.
Yeah.
The ridiculous technique, the tricks they're doing. They're
Yeah.
playing against other top sides from
Yeah.
Europe.
This is a youth team or the men's team?
The Palmeiras youth team. Might look like, I don't know, under 15s, 15s, 16s, 14s, something
Yeah.
like that. Playing in youth team, other top European teams. The stuff they're doing in this game is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Crazy skills. And obviously they're playing against boys that are really good. and they're just making them look like Sunday league players.
Isn't this a great incentive too, and a great way to excite our kids by that sort of footage, sending it around on the WhatsApp group? Oh, guys, check out this Palmeiras youth team at futsal, or
This is the standard.
Sunday away at Ebbsfleet or wherever you're playing.
Actually, a good point about grounding yourself, by the way, because we've not really been in this position where we've thought our kids are going to make it, but there's loads of dads out there or parents out there that think their son is God's gift or daughter is God's gift, the next Maradona getting their mural already. And then we've played with ballers, elite, we've played against some academies in the UK, some really good ones. And that is a grounding moment where you witness some of these kids. They are unbelievably good. Yeah. And they just get set apart, you know. Yeah. And you talk about in Argentina, I bet it's exactly the same in Brazil, be another level as well. Yeah. So
that's great.
Maybe if you do think your son is God's gift or your daughter's God's gift, maybe have a look at some of these clips of the elite academies and see what you think then.
Yeah. Guys, thanks very much, Mike, Ben. Guys, our audience, please check out their podcast. Ben, do you want to give it a quick plug?
Yeah, so it's the It's Only Kids Football Podcast, Spotify, Apple, and then on social it's at IOK Football. Come and give us a follow for the best and worst bits of the show. And just subscribe, listen to the show, and hopefully you get to laugh along the way at our pain and misery.
Yeah, good luck, lads. Thanks again for coming in.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.